Hello everyone, I'm Tommy with Studio Sense and welcome to another Keep 10 video. I know that I've done the Keep 4 for Life Niche Edition as well as Designer Edition, and now it's time to move up, bump up the number a little bit. Keep 10 for Life, Designer Edition, throw away the rest. So that is what today's video is about. So I've got a lot of things to go over. So without further ado, stay tuned because that's what's coming up next. Hey guys, welcome back to my Keep 10 for Life, Throw Away the Rest Designer Edition. So how I broke everything down is I wanted 2 for spring and summer, I wanted 2 for fall, autumn, and winter, I wanted a couple of nostalgia picks, and I wanted 2 for date night fragrances. So kind of encompassing all circumstances, all situations, so we get all that versatility in there. Now this is going to be the Designer Edition under $50. So in certain instances with certain ones of these fragrances, you just have to keep it under the 100 ml bottle, but you'll keep it well under that $50 budget that we're going for. All right, now as we go through these, see if you can pick out the date night fragrances, the spring and summer ones, and the fall, autumn, and winter ones before I tell you exactly what they are. It might be kind of fun to do. And these are in no particular order, so we're going through 10 to 1, but 10 doesn't mean my least favorite and 1 doesn't mean my most favorite. These are, again, no particular order. Coming in at number 10 is Thierry Mugler's Angel for Men. Now, a lot of fragrance reviewers are saying, this is used up DNA, it's too common, it's not that fresh anymore. Even Jeremy Fragrance is saying, don't get, Angel for Men, it's old, it's outdated. I wholeheartely disagree. To me, this is a very classic, fresh fragrance that does something a little different than most fragrances that are what are considered gourmand. Now this is a semi-sweet gourmand fragrance because it does have cacao in it, it's got coffee, it's got chocolate, and because of that, a lot of people just throw this in the gourmand side, but this has a little bit more of a twist to it. It's a little bit more masculine and woodsy to be just straight up gourmand. It is not a straight up gourmand fragrance. I think it was among the first fragrances to be gourmand and masculine, and to me that's why I'll always have, this is actually probably in the top 5 most complimented fragrances in my collection for me. So that's why it makes Keep 10 designer fragrances under $50 and throw away the rest. Angel for Men by Thierry Mugler, or Thierry Mugler, however you want to say his name. I'll just say Mugler. It's one of very few fragrances that make you smell delicious and masculine at the same time, and that's kind of a feat to be able to do that. Some of my favorite notes in this fragrance are honey, coffee, vanilla, and tonka are in this fragrance, which makes it super sweet, creamy, gourmand, and yet on the masculine side. Again, you got that masculine twist there. One thing that I do like about Thierry Mugler's Angel for Men is that it is refillable. You can just pop this off the top of it. The atomizer is built in, the very top of the atomizer anyway. And then this is the refillable bottle. You have to kind of manhandle it and slide it out of this rubberized sleeve, but that's what the actual bottle looks like. And you can get this refill for definitely probably well under 30 bucks, right? For a 100 ml bottle. And that is really, really good. I love this juice. This is actually my second refill for this particular rubber flacon. So that is another reason why I really like this fragrance and why I'm going to keep it. My number 9 pick is just because I like the way that this smells on my skin. And whenever I grab the bottle, I always feel like I'm getting ready to bust into Axl Rose or something karaoke, because it is reminiscent of a microphone, but I do love the tactile feel of this bottle. And of course, that is Alfred Dunhill's Icon. You got Icon Racing and other Icon fragrances, but this to me is my absolute favorite. Now this is very reminiscent to me of Bulgari Wood Neroli, because it does have neroli in it, a very neroli fragrance, but I love how a little bit on the dirtier, smokier side that this one is on the dry down on my skin. Some of my favorite notes in Dunhill Icon are neroli, juniper berry, iris, and leather. What a great note blend and combination. And the smell is so good. Ah, man. Neroli is a very white floral fragrance, but that dirty take on it with the Icon goes away, is a little bit more divergent from that floral. I really like neroli is done this way. Not a lot of fragrances can do that. Bulgari Man Wood Neroli is one of them. Dunhill Icon is another. So if you're a fan of neroli, highly recommend this. This is one, it was a toss-up between Wood Neroli and Icon, and this came in because of the pricing and because of how quality this is for what It's amazing the price you pay for this from the quality of juice that you get. And it's just a feel-good fragrance. It's one of my feel-good fragrances for this selection. It's such a good introspective, smoky, kind of pensive fragrance, and especially on that dry down, it even becomes even more smoky and dark. This is the perfect thinking man's fragrance where you can sit all alone in a room and come up with all the answers and solutions to your problems in your head. Alfred Dunhill's Icon. Coming in at number 8, and again not doing this in any particular order, is Azzaro's Wanted by Night. Now this is such a spicy bomb. It kind of reminds me of a Viktor and Rolf Spice Bomb in a lot of ways, except it's a little bit more on the alluring, seductive side. Now, a lot of people call this a clubbing fragrance. It is very club reminiscent. It's not really an older or mature fragrance, although you can wear it no matter what age you are, but this is kind of a young man's fragrance. And I do like that energy and the vibe that comes along with this. I kind of wanted one fragrance that was a little bit clubbier, on the clubbier side, and this is my pick for that. This, of course, being a little bit darker, a little bit richer, more alluring, so it's going to be, it's one of my winter, fall, and autumn picks because of that as well. Spicy, warm, sexy, dark, smooth. Those are all adjectives that you could use to describe Azzaro Wanted by Night. The first time I wore this, I literally felt like I was on my way to Club Phoenix in Charlotte, which is a club that has a lot of popular producers for EDM music that you can go to. Dance floor is amazing, the atmosphere is amazing, but it's a very small venue, but they cram it to capacity every time that it's open, and this is a reminder of those trips. Featuring great projection, above average longevity. Some of my favorite notes in this, of course, are tobacco, cinnamon, incense, red cedar, leather, vanilla, and cypress. So a ton of notes in this. So many things about this fragrance to admire. So when you see the price tag on it, you're like, what, really? Fantastic pick. I can't imagine anyone not keeping this in their top 10 designer fragrances and throwing away the rest, but Azzaro Wanted by Night is definitely in mine, so I'm keeping it. You're gonna start seeing a pattern here with the notes. I'm kind of a sucker for more darker gourmand fragrances, and most of these fragrances have most of these notes in them. Azzaro Wanted by Night is also one of 2 date night fragrance picks, if you haven't already noticed. That made my list because of that too. Moving on to number 7 in my fragrance list of top designer fragrances under $50 that I would keep and throw away the rest, is one that I get re-addicted to every time I reintroduce my nose to it, and that is Dolce & Gabbana's the One EDP. Now the EDT is what addicted me, and the EDP is what keeps bringing me back. The Eau de Parfum is such a great, rich addition to the One DNA. It is very popular as such, it is very common, but there is no denying the allure of this fragrance. As you probably have already surmised, it is my number 2 pick for date night fragrances in this list, as well as you got Azzaro Wanted by Night, Dolce & Gabbana's the One EDP. It's such a consistently good and fresh fragrance. Some of my favorite fragrant notes in this are basil, ginger, orange blossoms, tobacco, and amber. A lot of really rich, well blended, tremendously blended notes in this fragrance that, again, it's really hard to take your nose out of this once you find it. Easy enough to throw away the rest. Dolce & Gabbana, the One EDP, have to have. So we'll keep this one. This is such a finely curated and crafted and blended fragrance that has spawned a ton of flankers that are good in their own right. However, this as the pillar fragrance is the best of the lot. Even though Mysterious Night is a great, great fragrance. You've got the One Gentleman, which is now discontinued. There are a lot out there, but this to me is the one that I always seem to come back to, and that's why I'm keeping it. It's also my go-to date night fragrance. Number 6 in my keep 10 designer fragrances under $50 for life used to be a staple in every young man's rotation. It's still a staple in mine because I think it's still worth keeping, and that is Versace's Eros. Eros again is my second clubbing fragrance along with Azzaro Wanted by Night. It is also a 1 out of my 2 nostalgia picks because it's been around for so long. So many great memories. Whenever I spray this on, I get that apple, that fresh apple and that fresh mint going, and it starts bringing back all these really, really good memories of when I first bought this, when I first began using it as a young man. It is definitely my nostalgia pick and my nostalgia keep. It is also one of my feel-good picks because of all the good memories associated with this. Now, some of my favorite notes in Versace Eros are mint, apple, tonka, cedar, vetiver, and ambroxan. These are all part of this DNA profile that is so unique has been copied, but still this remains the most unique clubbing fragrance out there, or at least one of the most unique clubbing fragrances out there that are still really, really good, that have a lot of great memories associated with it. So definitely keeping Versace Eros. I just really like everything about Versace Eros. The bottle design is clutch. The smell is really, really good. Even though it's older, it's not dated. It's still very viable and relevant. And it is one of my feel-good go-tos that just makes me feel good. It boosts my confidence every time that I use it. So you can't throw that away. Gotta keep it. All right, guys, we're down to 5 on the list, and 5 might surprise you just because it is so dirt cheap. And I tell you what, if you ever find me during the apocalypse, whether it's a zombie or otherwise, in a corner of a room huffing on a fragrance just to feel good, is probably going to be this one, and that is CK1 Shock. That's right, another wonderful tobacco-based fragrance. I think to this day this is still an underrated gem just because it is so cheap. You can get a 200 ml bottle for just under 25 bucks. I mean, that's tremendously cheap, and 200 ml, that's a huge bottle. This is the 125 ml bottle right here that I have. Now, it's got really an odd mix of notes that when blended, the way that they blend, that's what makes this so unique, I believe. So some of my favorite notes in CK1 Shock are osmanthus, cucumber, tobacco. Yeah, you heard me right, I said cucumber. You've got tobacco, you've got cardamom, you've got basil, you've got amber in there. Of course, tobacco and amber go really hand in hand in a lot of these. Again, you'll see a lot of repetition in these notes, but the blends are so different and they all smell so very uniquely different. And that's what's wonderful about fragrance. So CK1 Shock, again, coming in well under $50. You can get a huge bottle of this for next to nothing. It is an amazingly underrated fragrance. Of course, it is one of my picks for nostalgia picks. So you've got Versace Eros and CK1 Shock. Such a nicely projecting, long-lasting fragrance for a fraction of what you would pay for lesser fragrance. It's a bit of a conundrum, but I'm glad that it exists. So if you do get CK1 Shock and you don't already have it, get that 200 ml bottle. Highly recommend. This is definitely one that I'm keeping. Coming in at number 4 has a really great wow factor. The first time I smelled this, I smelled it from a sample and I immediately ordered a 100 ml bottle of it. A lot of people are touting this as just another Aventus clone, and it is very similar to Aventus in that top. As soon as you spray it, you're like, okay, I can see what they did here. Kind of their take on Creed Aventus. However, in the dry down, it becomes something a lot different. And that's when it kind of diverges from the Creed Aventus DNA and becomes its own individual thing. And of course, by now you know what I'm talking about, and that is Mont Blanc Explorer. Explorer is such a uniquely vibrant fragrance. I really, really do like it. It does stand, to me, it stands on its own, well away from Creed Aventus. It has its own vibe, its own energy, and it is more, to me, it is a more modernized, fresher take on Creed Aventus. And quite honestly, I prefer this, and I've gotten a ton more compliments off of this because I think it projects better off my skin and is a lot longer lasting than is Creed Aventus. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree, and that's fine. There's differences between my oils on my skin and yours, so fragrances are going to mix differently and they're going to be different. But for me, that is my number one reason for keeping this, because it comes in well under, of course, not the 100 ml bottle. The 50 ml bottle comes well in under 50 bucks, and to me, you can't get that quality. It's such a great quality, and that Creed Aventus vibe is unmistakable, and it is a feel-good fragrance as well. This is one of my spring and summer picks, and also one of my blue fragrances that I wanted to pick as well, and that is why I'm keeping Mont Blanc Explorer and throwing away the rest. All right, guys, we're down to brass tacks. Only 3 fragrances left, and I'll go ahead and tell you this next one is part of the blue fragrances that I wanted to choose, as well as another spring and summer favorite, and that is Versace Dylan Blue. Now, of course, in its place, Bleu de Chanel would be here because Bleu de Chanel is my absolute favorite blue fragrance. However, this, you can actually get a full 100 ml bottle for less than 50 bucks. In most cases, just over 40 from online discounters. And to me, for how good this fragrance is, for how quality of a juice that you're getting in a blue fragrance, you can't beat Versace Dylan Blue. It is a fantastically bright, vibrant, aquatic, ozonic fragrance for under 50 bucks for, again, you get a 100 ml bottle. This to me is a freshie with a purpose, so it's a little bit more cerebral blue than most just dumb reaches, as it were. Now, I'm not going to go into my favorite notes about this, just suffice it to say, if you've smelled a blue fragrance out there, Versace Dylan Blue is doing it better. So to me, you've got Bleu de Chanel, Versace Dylan Blue, and all other blue fragrances. That's how good this is, I think, anyway. And so that's why it's making it on my Keep 10 Under 50 designer fragrance list. Coming in at number 2 is one of my favorite budget designer houses, and that is Hugo Boss. This one is in the fragrance line called The Scent, and this is The Scent Private Accord. Now this is part of their Maninka Fruit collection. Maninka Fruit is a very dusty, very semi-musky, semi-sweet, fragrant note, and that is what is in this that makes it so unique. When you think of Private Accord, when you think of The Scent, you think of Hugo Boss, you think of Maninka Fruit. But some of my other favorite notes, fragrant notes in this aromatic wonder, this is Oriental Spicy Aromatic Wonder, are ginger, coffee, pineapple, and cacao or chocolate, right? So this is like a chocolate coffee bomb. So it's almost like you walked into a coffee shop and someone just ordered the brownie of the week or something like that. It is such an aromatic, semi-gourmand. But again, what are wonderful about these gourmand fragrances, they are able to take a gourmand fragrance, which is semi-sweet to often very sweet, and twist it and throw in some woodsy notes, some red cedar, some cypress, and make it masculine. So make it very masculine, very sexy. There are a lot of people that aren't sure what to do about a fragrance that have foodie notes in them. They're not at all thinking, you know, sexy or masculine, but I give it a chance, let it dry down, all those notes come together and their complexity opens up on the dry down in this, and I guarantee you'll change your mind about it if you haven't given it an opportunity. If you just smell it out of the bottle, obviously you're gonna be like, it just smells like coffee and chocolate and sweet. I don't really like that. Okay, yeah, but you can't just throw it away in terms of that. That's just an introduction. There's more to come. That's just the matinee. There's so much more to come. So spray it on your skin, wait for the dry down. This is a dry down wonder. It does have great projection and great longevity on my skin. Private Accord is one of the best, most affordable, sexy, masculine gourmand scents for men, and that is why it made my list to keep. All right, last but definitely not least is Salvatore Ferragamo's UOMO Signature. Yes, I love gourmand fragrances, but what's unique about gourmand fragrances, at least to me, gourmand for men, is that they're able to infuse, again, like Private Accord, such woody, masculine essence into something that's also foodie sweet. To me, that's fascinating and that's what I really like about this. When you smell this fragrance, and especially on the dry down, the first thing that you think of is not, oh wow, this is gourmand. The first thing you think of is, wow, what is that unique, alluring fragrance? I want to know more. I want to smell more. I can't get enough of this when I spray this on. When I spray this on, in fact, I really have to quell the urge or the desire to spray more, because I always seem to overspray this because I myself personally love it. Now, because we're in isolation right now due to the pandemic, you don't have to worry about spraying too much unless you have a partner that's just like, you're choking me out. Otherwise, spray heavily as much as you like, because this is a fantastic fragrance. This is going to be saying a lot, I know, but this is probably my favorite release to come out in 2018. It is not that old, 2018, it's just a couple years old. To me, that's relatively new on the scene for a fragrance, so this is kind of still in the testing grounds. As a result of that, this fragrance is so inexpensive. I really do like that bottle design. I've shown, in videos before where I've reviewed the UOMO line, but I really do like that. Some people might think it's cheesy, but that's okay. I enjoy it. The only negative thing, and you'll see that there's a little bit of a stopper here to prevent this from being, pushed down on and losing some of your juice. It's really kind of hard to spray, at least spray without being awkward. Because the lid is so big, you don't get really any slant on your finger so that it's easier to pull on the trigger. You just have to pull down. So sometimes you feel like it's easier just to take your whole hand and push down, and sometimes that's the case. So spraying it could be a little bit more, there's a little bit less function to this form, but that's just a first world problem, right? It's not a big deal. Then I kept this. This comes with this. You don't really have to keep the stopper, but I just did because I like the way it keeps the lid nice and clean and prevents it from accidentally spraying. So again, 2018, one of my favorite releases of 2018, if not my favorite. Still a great fragrance at well under $50 for a full 100 ml bottle. This is so delicious and so masculine. There's so many things to like about this fragrance. To me, this is really close to being niche quality for what you pay, and it's just amazing. Like, why would you pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a niche fragrance that's trying to do what this one accomplishes at a fraction of the cost? It's wonderful to spray as soon as you get on. I actually spray this on my body before I go to bed, and it really helps me sleep. It is a wonderful feel good. This is one of my picks also, by the way, for fall and autumn and winter. So one of my picks for cold weather. It's a very cold weather fragrance, but it also is a very feel good fragrance too. So whenever you're down, when in the dumps, whenever you need a boost, both in a charisma and in confidence, this is your guy right here to spray on. To me, this is a lightly sophisticated blend that it manages to express itself in a casual way, yet at the same time keeping a kind of a dark, mysterious, gourmand charisma. This is also one that once a bit of time has gone by between uses, when I reintroduce my nose to it, I'm always wowed. It's like almost having nose Alzheimer's, because you forget just how good a fragrance is, and then you re-smell it and you're like, wow, this is amazing. I'm gonna start wearing this more. So you reintroduce it back into your rotation. This one has stayed in my rotation probably longer than any other fragrance that I own, simply because I love it so much and I keep going back to it. So it's kind of a dumb reach for me. All right, guys, that wraps up my Keep 10 Throw Away the Rest Designer Edition under $50. I really hope you've enjoyed this list. If it's kind of spawned ideas of other fragrances that you might want to add to this list, please list those in the comments below. I'd always love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me. Thank you again so much for your support. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time.